Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Farzy Show. Do this thing from the Steven Singer studio, and this thing is presented by Destination Retirement, destinationretirement.com. So that happened last night. Sixers were terrible last night. Joel Embiid is hurt and ran out of gas. He was still the best Sixer with one hand and no gas left in the tank, unfortunately. No transition game. They got beat in fast break and points in the paint. Both fast break points and points in the paint. That's hard to do, to get beat in both categories, one would assume. And they looked like a team that thought they could just show up at home, mail in a performance, and expect to advance to the Eastern Conference semifinals yet again. They're not good enough to do that. With Joel Embiid having two good hands, they're not good enough to do that. Because in a lot of instances, the Toronto Raptors, they can do what they did yesterday, as they did really throughout the regular season, which was say, yeah, go ahead. Joel Embiid alone is not going to beat us. So, hey, Maxey. Hey, Tobias Harris. Now, hey, James Harden. Go ahead and try to beat this 76ers squad. Early on, I started to get some hope. Early on, I saw the exact Tobias Harris guy that I wanted to see in this game. I wanted to see the guy be aggressive. I wanted to see him go coast to coast. And all the things that we talked about yesterday with Allah Abdelnaby, we saw early in this game, and then air was out of the balloon. And if I could pinpoint one moment where the air was really out of the balloon and I really didn't think the Sixers team was going to win, call me crazy, but it's exactly when Matisse Thybulle checked into the game in the first quarter. He looked like over the two games in Toronto, he forgot how to play basketball. Like, completely forgot how to play basketball. He was somewhat aggressive defensively, but on the offensive end, I know he's not in there for offense. He never has been, and I know some people are crossing their fingers that he really becomes this 3-and-D guy. But he was so terrible yesterday. You saw Tyrese Maxey himself throw up his hands at Thybulle going, dude, what are you doing? Because Thybulle was wide open for a corner three after he had missed two previous shots and had some, I think he airballed a layup as well. And you're watching him play, you're going, this guy isn't doing anything. He's not doing anything for you. And he swings the ball. Matisse Thybulle gets the ball in the corner from Maxey, and he dribbles, hesitates, scared of his own shot, and then passes it away to back to Thybulle, or excuse me, back to Maxey. That you can't. How do you play on the offense end of the floor like that? And from that moment on, it just felt like, not that the Sixers were dominant at that point. It wasn't like they were up 10 or anything ridiculous, and they were going to be the coast from this point on. It was that moment that the wheels started to come off, I felt, for the 76ers. And this was just wall-to-wall, for the most part, an embarrassing loss. No matter what Toronto did, it was the right call. If they wanted to push, boom, 22 points off fast break. They wanted to go in the paint, 35 points on the paint. Anything they wanted to do, they did. Double Joel Embiid? Yeah, okay, fine. Forced turnovers from James Harden, who, by the way, if you haven't seen this yet, James Harden has as many made field goals as he does turnovers over the last two games. Oh, Marc, he has got 22 points in game 4. That's adorable. Volume shooting, definition of, when it comes to James Harden in this series. You're going to hear from Joel Embiid. We're going to let you hear what he had to say in his post-game press conference. You're going to hear a little bit from James Harden. You're going to hear a lot from Doc Rivers. There's one common theme after this game, and that's Joel Embiid screaming from the mountaintops. He's like standing on top of Billy Penn's statue in Center City, just yelling for help. Somebody help me, is what he's saying. And I don't blame him at all. And after the game, he did talk about James Harden being more aggressive. And I'm not sure that's the answer, because whether or not it's terminology, whether or not it's the hamstring, whether or not it's a 32-year-old point guard in James Harden now, whatever it might be, he ain't it. And this team is not good enough to win with Joel Embiid with one hand And they sure as hell were not good enough to win with just Joel Embiid with 2 hands. They need a whole team to beat the Toronto Raptors if they really want a chance to get to that second round of the playoffs. And this game last night proved it. I looked at the Raptors after game 3 and I said, oh, that was the game that the Raptors threw everything at the 76ers and they still couldn't win. And the Sixers, they got this series. I thought, they got it now. If any time a team really throws the kitchen sink at another team and they lose, especially in dramatic fashion, overtime, turnaround shot from Joel Embiid to win it, anytime a team loses like, Arizona Blue, they're done. Life support, forget about it, they're done. And that wasn't the case with this Raptors team. They're the underdog. I know that expression, that word, that means a lot to us in Philadelphia, but the Toronto Raptors are the underdog here. Nick Nurse is too good a coach to just let that happen. I know we've been focusing on foul calls and we've been focusing on complaining about the officials, and that's all valid, but it's worked. Because as I've been saying, the officiating has been terrible in this series. And last night, I don't want to hear a thing about it. Because last night was all about the Sixers' effort. It was all about their lack of execution. It was just about dumb plays and turnovers. That's what last night was about. Was the officiating suspect at times with arm checks and offensive fouls? Absolutely it was. But not at all the reason why the Sixers lost this game. Might be a reason why they're going into a game 6 a little bit, but not so much as to why they lost last night. But as I was saying all that stuff about Nick Nurse and how he was bitching and moaning and complaining about the officiating, I also said it's exactly what he needed to do as the Raptors head coach. If that was us, the roles were reversed, and the Sixers were the Raptors in this situation, I'd be screaming for Doc Rivers, hey man, you got to get the calls. If the Raptors had a center that was getting calls like Joel Embiid, I'd be saying Nick Nurse, or in this case Doc Rivers, you got to be complaining, you got to be on the refs the whole time. You got to get whatever you can. You got to scratch, you got to claw. Although I did find it hilarious that Embiid got fined $15,000 for complaining about the officials. And people were like, oh, well, of course he did. He said the game was fixed. Yeah, that's adorable. But Taylor down in Memphis also got fined $15,000. And he just implied the refs were terrible. He didn't imply that the game was fixed and he got fined. Nick, there's still no fine. Okay, NBA, you're making a lot of sense. But I digress. This team is just not good enough to beat this Raptors team the way they're playing basketball right now. Over the last 2 games, you have seen a lack of effort. You have seen wide open shots get clanked off the rim consistently, and you've seen far too many turnovers. And those are things that killed the Sixers during the regular season against this Toronto Raptors team. And yes, as much help as Embiid needs, I don't see James Harden stepping up. Why should I be confident in James Harden stepping up and all of a sudden dropping a 30-point game on, 17 shots? Let's imagine that. So it's not just volume at that point. Not just going to the line. Him also turning the basketball over as many times as he has been. Why should I be reliant on a guy like Tyrese Maxey when it seemed like last night in the fourth quarter, Maxey was the only guy with a spark lit under him? That was it. From the fourth quarter, from the jump of the fourth quarter, Tyrese Maxey was the only guy out there that looked like he was ready to still fight in the fourth quarter. Harden wanted the ball, but he shouldn't have had the ball. And I give credit to Doc Rivers because it seemed like the call came in from the bench for Harden to stop bringing the ball up and let the offense run through Tyrese Maxey. And then Joel Embiid checks in, and he didn't really have a lot to offer for you, unfortunately, last night throughout this entire game. There were instances in early goings of this game where they started to feed the ball down to him in the paint, and he was making points. He was making things happen. And then they just said, hey, that's been working. Let's get the hell away from that as fast as possible. That's what it seemed like. And you could talk about doubling him. They were doubling him in the first quarter as well, and he was still getting points from it. He was still getting fouled. He was still going to the line. And he wasn't shying away from contact. There were a couple of plays, and I think Doc Rivers did say this in his post-game press conference. He did say this. He said there was one instance where the ball was on the floor and Joel Embiid didn't dive for it. And that was a ball that he would usually get to, but didn't because of the thumb. There were a couple of plays like that where he said, all right, he's being a little bashful because he doesn't want to hurt the thumb any further or anything like that. And I get that. I understand that. But this is an instance where it's an all-out situation. If you want a chance at advancing, if you want a chance to get to that next round of the playoffs, if you want a chance, just a chance, just a morsel of a chance, a thread of a chance to get past the second round, I don't think they're going to do it, but if you want a morsel of a chance to get past the second round, instead of maybe regressing from what you were able to do the previous year, at least you made it to the second round of Game 7, if you want even a chance, Joel Embiid's got to do everything. And I don't think, I mean, look, I was the guy saying that after Game 4, I think he's at 75%, maybe 80, but 75% of Joel Embiid is not good enough to beat this Raptors team. Hey, Toby, gonna need you here. Hey, Maxie, gonna need you here. Hey, George Diego off the bench. The bench didn't have any points until the fourth quarter. Think about that for a second. I made the mistake because I saw on the stat sheet that Thibault had 2 points. I'm like, did I miss a shot that he made? I guess I did. He's got 2 points. And I totally forgot that they had the odd goal. And that was after one of the ugly threes from Matisse Thibault in the first quarter. The Raptors tipped it in. And because Maxey was because Thibault was the last guy to touch it, he was awarded the 2 points. But somebody else needs to step up here in dominant fashion. Not like a slight increase from normal production, but dominant fashion. And I'd love to say that guy's going to be James Harden. I don't have any confidence. All of a sudden, James Harden's going to be better in game 6 of a playoff series after he's played a full season, 32 years old, bum hamstring, and we're going to be talking about James Harden stepping up. Love to see it. Rooting for it, not betting on it. All right? Tyrese Maxey, yes, please. I think he is the only one. At this point, we have put a lot of faith in Tobias Harris. As far as I'm concerned, in this series, Tobias Harris is a 3-and-D guy. That's all he's going to be. And last night, he hit a couple of threes early for you. That was great. But the only guy I really see, other than Joel Embiid, giving you consistent offense and having the ability to take over a game in this particular series is Tyrese Maxey. That's it. The James Harden experiment, this isn't time for that to work itself out. He needs like another week off because this series, as it's gone on, he has just regressed. But the only guy I see stepping up, and quite frankly, needs to get the opportunity to step it up, and I give credit to Doc Rivers for saying this is the guy that needs to get the ball in the fourth quarter, that's Tyrese Maxey. That's the only guy. After that, everyone else is a role player. Harden has reduced himself to a role player. That Rajon Rondo guy that I was afraid that James Harden would turn into with at least a little bit of confidence to shoot the basketball, that's what James Harden has turned into. I was afraid of it happening, and now it's happened. Now Tyrese Maxey's out there. He needs to get the ball a hell of a lot more than he's been getting the ball. The play that he made, what was it, in the third quarter, a little scoop and all that stuff, that was incredible. I joked on Twitter, he's still in the air right now. But if you're not going to get that type of offensive output that you're used to getting from Joel Embiid, 30 points a game, the only guy I have confidence in stepping up to score points for you on a consistent basis is Tyrese Maxey. That certainly doesn't look like they're going to do it. James Harden, step aside for a second here. This has now got to be the Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey show, and whatever you get from James Harden is gravy. There might be a little trouble, by the way, in Pleasantville when it comes to Harden and when it comes to Embiid. Because Embiid, if you remember, for the last couple years that he was with Ben Simmons, he was quoted a couple of different times saying, when we have open shots, we got to shoot. Ben was implied. He didn't say Ben, but we all know who he was talking about. That obviously didn't go over well with Ben in the long term, but in the more immediate future, that's not going to go over well with James Harden either. And I'll tell you how I feel about it. I don't give a damn. Say what you will, because this version of James Harden isn't come anything close to getting a contract extension at the end of this year. This version of James Harden is not going to get the welcome invitation here to Philadelphia for one more year if he opts into his next deal. That's not his final year of his deal. That's not going to be the guy I'm going to be welcoming with open arms in Philadelphia. Because, look, I hope, all right, because I don't think Daryl Morey is making the deal for James Harden for a rent-a player. I don't think that's happening. But if this is the guy the Sixers traded for good, we're doomed. A lot of early playoff exits where we're headed. As much as I hate to say that, that's what it seems like. But I don't think that there's some better version of James Harden there. Is there the off chance that he gets hot and he's able to beat up on other teams and hit that shot with consistency? Sure, there's an off chance, but very rarely do people hit 33 years old like he will in August and all of a sudden become a better basketball player, let alone a better athlete in general. So I'm not too optimistic about that. I just can't. I can't get over what I saw last night. And I know you guys can't get over it too. And then in an even more selfish note from just being a sports fan, so hold on a damn minute. I got to now watch the Sixers play Game 6 against this Raptors team and the NFL draft on Thursday. How many hours do you think are left in a day here, folks? That was one of the things that ran through my mind after the game. Was, so wait a minute, now I got to watch in the fourth quarter. I'm like, so Thursday 7th, and the draft. This is a both personal and professional hell that we're sitting in right now. This isn't fun. And it did creep into my mind as well. You know that Star Wars theme with the lady and the guy? What's it? Anakin? Is that it? I watched all the Star Wars recently, like maybe within the last 6 months. And I'm not a big Star Wars guy. I've never seen any of the new ones, but there's that meme now. And ever since I watched it, the meme has come out and become very popular. It's the lady, Natalie Portman, and the character, whoever that is. And then it's the other guy, Anna, whatever, Anakin. And they're talking, and it's like, hey, Doc Rivers is up 3-1. And then it's Natalie Portman, who's lovely, by the way. Yeah, but it's not going to happen again, right? And then nothing from Anakin. And then, right? From Natalie Portman. That's what it feels like. I could best describe my feelings right now with a meme from Star Wars. It's what it's come to right now, ladies and gentlemen. And that ain't cool. That ain't fun. But yet here we are. Together, at least. Let me know in the comments what you guys think is going to happen in this Game 6. Do you think we're coming back to Philadelphia for Game 7? Because I'll tell you right now, yes. As much confidence as I had in the Sixers in Game 4, loss. As much confidence as I had in the Sixers coming home in Game 5, as much confidence as the Sixers had in themselves in Game 5. Let's not forget the other famous picture from the weekend, other than Ben Simmons dressed like Homie the Clown, was Joel Embiid sitting on the bench with his arm around Maxey, his arm around Harden, and it's like, yeah, we're rolling back to Philly, man, where we're going to take this series. And we all felt great. Oh, they got this. And then they come home and not so great. They don't got this. This is unbelievable. I am beside myself with how terrible this is. And really, we shouldn't be shocked. Like, how well did we expect Joel Embiid to be with one hand? And here's the other thing. And Joel Embiid more or less admitted to this, and you'll hear from him in a second. But defensively, I felt like Joel Embiid was much more hindered by the hand than he was offensively. There were a couple of different plays in this game where you saw him throw it down. One was gingerly threw it down. The other was with authority threw it down. And I'm thinking, okay, all right, this is great. But defensively speaking, it looks like he is wildly hesitant to put that hand in the air to block a shot. And I'm watching the game and I'm going, where's that aggression from Joel Embiid? There was one instance in the I think it was the third quarter. Toronto gets a fast break. Surprise, surprise. A shot goes up, but it was like lazy after a foul, had no chance of going in. And Joel Embiid came down and swatted it out of the air. I believe he did it with his right hand. And I'm thinking, okay, well, that's good. And then every other play where it seemed to be like more legit in-game, I guess is the way to describe it, he wasn't there. He wasn't there with a hand in the air. He wasn't there with that like tough defensive mentality that we normally see him play with. A guy that I think should be a perennial defensive player of the year candidate. Not the case this year. But for me, I don't know what we were watching yesterday with Joel Embiid, other than we know we were watching a guy playing with one hand, is basically what it felt like. So hopefully the Sixers have something where they can light a fire into themselves and they can give you a much better effort. They can play more heads-up basketball. Lazy passes at the top of the key, getting picked off and going the other way for more fast break points for the Toronto Raptors. This was the game that was your worst nightmare based on what you had seen from the regular season, and based off how the Sixers ended the regular season. I know they were 6-1 in their final 7 games, I want to say, to end the regular season. So they did well win-loss wise, which ultimately what matters. But the style in which they were winning those games wasn't all too impressive, especially with the way they blew leads late in this game. So for me, I was just beside myself with how bad this was. Sixers, by the way, total turnovers 16-9. So that's fun. What did I want to get you? I wanted to confirm one thing. Fast break points. Fast break points were 24-16 in favor of the Raptors. Points in the paint, 56-36. So you were beat by 8 points in fast break and beat by 20 points in the paint. That's hard to do. And yet the Sixers were like, hey, you check this out. Let me tell you about the great people. Before we get to our Rothman Orthopedics locker room report, let me tell you about the great people at Destination Retirement and my man, Mike Seibert. Mike Seibert is a retirement income certified professional and at Destination Retirement LLC, a partner of 1847 Financial and an advisor to Eagles, Sixers, and Phillies fans only. Maybe next year the Flyers. Flyers just won 2 in a row, and then they lost yesterday. So the Flyers have won more games in the last 5 days than the Sixers. So that's fun. Flyers are 2-1, Sixers 0-2. We're all having fun here. But let's listen to this. When it comes to long-term savings, you need to talk to my man, Mike Seibert. Why are you giving up your current enjoyment of your current income? Listen to this. The answer is to have an income stream in retirement, and that's where Mike Seibert at destinationretirement.com comes in. It only makes sense to understand how retirement income streams work so that you can direct savings in ways that give you the highest income when you retire. Think of it like climbing a mountain. Is the objective just to go to the top of the mountain, or is the objective to also come safely back down the mountain? Well, going up the mountain is your accumulation phase of your financial life. Going back down the mountain is your distribution phase. These are the two different phases of your financial life, and these should be addressed separately. This month, let's talk about college planning, shall we? We know that college is expensive, but have you ever thought about how it will affect your retirement? Let Mike Seibert at destinationretirement.com show you an efficient way to help pay for your kids' college education while still retiring on your own terms. Your first step is to avoid starting your growth cycle over by depleting 529s, so you don't want to do that for big expenses like college. You don't want to lose your position on your growth cycle and start over again because you can't get that time back. Instead, set yourself up for the ability to use vehicles that can make money, that you can take money out of without starting your growth cycle over again. Find out how your annual retirement savings can help your college savings and how your college savings can help your annual retirement savings. Michael, set up your own portal in Retirement Analyzer, then use software to help you navigate through the different phases of your financial life. I know some of you are watching this, listening to this, thinking, retirement's so far down the line. You can't be prepared too soon for retirement. So Michael hook you up. For questions or to set up a meeting with Mike, email him at gobirds@1847financial.com. That's gobirds@1847financial.com, or call his office at 484-275-6035. That's 484-275-6035. Make sure you do that right now and contact Mike. You can also visit the website at destinationretirement.com. As always, go Birds. And play the song. That's how I'm going to say it today, because I'm very depressed. Mother's Day is almost here. Let me tell you about Steven Singer and how he can help you celebrate Mother's Day. There's still time to get the best gift from mom. Don't just grab it from the nearest grocery store, those flowers that'll die in a week or less. Get the gift that'll last a lifetime. Steven Singer's brand new creamsicle 24-karat gold dip rose. Remember the warm spring days where mom would surprise you with a frozen sweet treat? The creamsicle, ladies and gentlemen. The creamsicle rose will thank mom for all those sweet memories you have of her. It's the mouth-watering creamy orange color exclusively from IHateStevenSinger.com. In this crazy world we live in, there's never been a more important time to tell mom just how much you love her and how much you appreciate those memories. Give the number one gift this Mother's Day. Picture it, a real long-stem rose dipped and trimmed in pure 24-karat gold with light peach petals, preserved and guaranteed to last a lifetime. It's the sweetest way to tell mom that you love her. Mom's Mother's Day, Sunday, May 8th. It's creeping up, folks. Give her the gift that she'll cherish forever. Steven's brand new creamsicle 24-karat gold dip rose. Go to IHateStevenSinger.com to see all the gold dip roses. They start at just $59. So make sure you go to IHateStevenSinger.com today to order fast and free shipping as always and get it in time for Mother's Day. Free personalized love note as well to mom and free lifetime guarantee. Don't wait. They always sell out. See the entire collection of gold dip roses starting at just $59 only at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Without further ado, let's do our Rothman Orthopedics locker room report, because there are a lot of things that were said after this game with the Sixers losing to the Raptors last night that left me a little head scratching here. Some of it was honest. Most of it was honest. The only person that I felt had a little bit of an issue with maybe something else that was said was James Harden. But let's get to our friend Joel Embiid. Let's focus on, let's hear from the head coach first. Doc Rivers on what separated the Raptors from the Sixers last night.
They were the tougher team all night. They're more physical all night. I don't think it was the second quarter. I thought it was throughout the game. I thought they attacked us. We didn't attack back. We didn't get in the paint enough, and it led to shots. I thought we took a lot of tough shots tonight.
Every shot the Sixers took last night was a tough shot. There was no, gimme. Occasionally, they had some corner threes. Danny Green, clank. Tobias, clank. James Harden, clank. He hit a three late in the game in that fourth quarter that I believe pulled it back to 9. Their difference was 9. The point differential was 9. And I thought, okay, maybe we'll get this going a little bit. But there was only like 4 minutes left. And 9 points with 4 minutes left in the game felt like a near impossible hurdle for the Sixers to get over. And what do you know? Sure enough, it was. Your bench players, so to speak, your Isaiah Joes, your Furkan Korkmazes of the world, they were in with about 2 minutes left. That's how early the white flag had to go up in this game. And listening to Doc Rivers talk about it post-game, I thought he was spot on. There was nothing they could do right in this game. Nothing. In the early goings, when they were able to feed Joel Embiid the ball down low, they were having success. And I give credit to Doc Rivers, and I am not at all the guy to say, Joel Embiid, get in the paint. What are you doing? Last night was an example for Joel Embiid to get in the paint. There has never been a more, like the people that are still in the crowd of Joel Embiid shouldn't be on the perimeter. It needs to be down low. Last night was a big win for you guys because that was as much fun as people like me were having after Game 3 when Joel Embiid hit that 3 to win it and close out the game for the Sixers, and much fun as I was having, and people like me that say it's okay for Joel Embiid to be on the perimeter, as much fun as we were having with that is as much fun as the stay in the paint crowd was having in yesterday's game, because that is exactly what Joel Embiid needed to do. I don't need him out on the perimeter trying to get down to the post to then post people up. I need him down in the post, ready to post people up, get the ball, pass out from the paint, get those kick out shots like I talked about going into the game yesterday, and it was actually working earlier, and then they got away from it. But that was an example. If Joel Embiid has that hand injury, I need him down low. I don't need him at the top of the key. I don't need him jacking threes with a bum hand. All I need him to do is be down low and score points and create points. That's all I need him to do. Like, look at foul shooting yesterday, 6 for 6 or 7 for 7, whatever Joel Embiid was yesterday. But like, finesse shots like that don't bother him. 6 for 6, Joel Embiid from the free throw line. Like that's okay. He can do that. Everything else is get down low, Joe. Just get down low. That right now is going to be your natural habitat for the foreseeable future. Doc Rivers also talked about this. Just basically, basically what the mental hurdle. Or excuse me, this is him on Toronto. One more time, excuse me. Toronto giving everything they wanted. So you heard him talk about how much tougher Toronto played. This is how Toronto was able to create everything they needed to do.
They got everything they wanted, and they not only did they get it, they used 23 seconds damn near every possession. So they turned the game into a slow-paced slugfest. But whenever they could run, they did run. So they got both. Like, they beat us in transition. When they didn't have transition, they backed it out, used the clock, got the ISO they wanted, and scored on us. They scored from every single guy looking at our guys in the face. So we're going to have to do something better to help our guys defend better.
Go zone again? That was something that actually Doc Rivers did in this series that I haven't acknowledged nearly as much as I should have, because I've talked a lot about the rough practices, the tough practices going into it. I've talked a lot about all this other stuff that he's been able to do leading up to this series, the first couple of games as well, the timeout with Joel Embiid with the ball in his hand, Danny Green being in the starting lineup instead of Thibault, go back and forth while Thibault's not available in Canada. But something else that he's done really well, it was call that zone in Game 3 to help kind of throw him off a bit. I was waiting for it again. I wouldn't have minded seeing a little bit of that. Like anything that would have stopped him offensively. But he's exactly right. He's exactly right. They just got everything that they wanted. And you know why they did that? Because they fought for it. Didn't look like on the Sixers end of things they were fighting for it. It looked like the Sixers came out with a plan. They executed that plan originally and then got away from it and then scuffled to get back to that plan. And you ain't going to win a game against a team that's as disciplined as the Toronto Raptors are. So for me, that's really where this game was lost. When the Sixers looked skittish, that's where the game was lost. The air started to come out of the balloon when Matisse Thybulle checked into the game. Not going to lie, it's not all Thybulle's fault. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying my first little hint of worry came when Thybulle was in that game. All right, now here we go. I mentioned it earlier. The 76ers are in a spot right now where they were up 3-0, they were up 3-1, and now they're up 3-2. Friend of the show, Kyle Neubeck of Philly Voice, asked the question after the game to Doc Rivers about how you avoid that mental hurdle, how you get over that mental hurdle of now knowing that you got to win in Toronto so you don't come back for a Game 7 in Philadelphia.
I don't know if I worry about it. I know there's a gear we have that we haven't used over the last couple of games. And going there, it's going to be a lively atmosphere. I think that'll be great for us in a crazy way. I think we'll be ready for that.
Okay. I hope so. That's good. That's confidence. He'll be ready. He's going to watch the film. Doc said that a couple of times after the game. Like, we're going to watch the film. I pity anybody that's going to watch. I might watch like the 10-minute, like, what do you call it? The extended highlights on the old YouTube there. Just to, like, wasn't that bad? It was pretty bad. But Doc's had to watch this entire thing over again. Well, one thing he did say is like an immediate reaction to this game was that Maxey's got to get the ball more. Maxey's got to be running things a little bit more, especially if James Harden's having one of them off nights. Maxey's got to get that ball a little bit more. So that was Doc on last night's game. Here is your man, Joel Embiid, on everything that went down last night, including the double teams that Toronto were throwing in his face.
The thing that changed really with the second half, where I wasn't able to get, those deep catches. We weren't getting stops. So in the first half, I was really able to, we were able to get stops and running the floor and, just ducking in and early before they can double. And then the second half, that just kept scoring and scoring and scoring, and we kept playing against a set defense. And obviously that just, doubled me, just our last game. Really everywhere, whether it was in the post, the elbow, the three-point line. You can tell they're really trying to get the ball out of my hands. So, we didn't make, we didn't make shots today. But, just got to keep trusting, and I think we will be better.
Embiid and Embiid and James Harden were a combined 2 for 10 from beyond the arc, with 2 of those threes last night being hit by James Harden late in the game. And then Joel Embiid was 0 for 4 from beyond the arc. He was the team high with 20 points. If he is going to continuously get doubled, there's a positive and negative to all of this. The positive is he's getting doubled and he's in pain. Can kick that ball out to hopefully an open shooter, and you can get those good looks and you can hit those open shots, or he can go up and maybe get fouled. Now, the catch-22 of that is that you don't want to get him fouled too many times because he's already playing injured, and you certainly don't want guys swiping at that hand when they obviously know what hand is hurting him because he's got the tape on it. So I don't know how they navigate this situation, but here's what I know worked for them: feeding the beast. In the early goings of this game, to go back to it, it felt like a horrible mismatch in a pickup game where a group of friends showed up and there's already 5 guys at the court. And, oh, yeah, you want to play? Let's play. And the one guy had a monster, and everybody else was like 5'11", and the other team had a 7-footer. And that 7-footer could do whatever he wanted in the paint. And that's what Joel Embiid was doing early on in this game. And then the Toronto Raptors said, yeah, we're going to take that away from you. We're going to push them around a little bit more. We're going to deny the inbound. We're going to deny the inlet, the pass down low, and we're going to make sure that everything goes awry if you try to continuously do that. There was no counter to that. The counter to that seemed like, okay, James Harden's going to drive. Tobias Harris is going to try to shoot corner threes. Danny Green's going to try to hit some threes. And none of it really got you back to where you were at the start of that game. Instead of getting away from it for a little bit and then trying to go back to it, they got away from it, never went back to it. And that's something I think at some point in the game, your adjustment has to be able to, your coach has to call the adjustment to go back to what was working for you in the beginning. And that just didn't happen. And I'm not saying it's all on Doc Rivers for that, where you can follow them, but I'll say this: you knew it was working and you never really saw it again, especially later in the game. Maybe it was because Joel Embiid was gassed. Maybe because the hand was bothering him. I mean, one thing Doc did say after the game was he did think Joel got tired. Joel wanted to stay out there, to his credit, but he also just was done. He was cooked, unfortunately. Something else that Joel Embiid got into yesterday was just himself, how he needs to step up for this team, and he took a lot of responsibility, especially when it came to the defensive end of things. Joel Embiid last night, by the way, was a -4, which for anybody that played more than 20 minutes wasn't terrible. But -4, it was actually the best of anyone that played more than 20 minutes. But here's Joe on what he needed to do better last night.
I mean, I was I was terrible defensively today. That's especially in that third quarter. So there's really no explanation, I guess. I just gotta play with more, energy and move my feet better. But I just gotta be better.
Really disheartening for Joel Embiid to know that he's already playing with one hand. And then on top of it, nobody else is stepping up. Like at one point, you got to realize maybe in the second quarter, you're looking around going, I'm really it. Like if I don't have a good game, which I'm not going to have the game that you're used to seeing me have, I'm not going to have 30, 35 points. I'm not going to have 15 rebounds consistently right now because of the hand. It must be pretty disconcerting to look around and go like, well, Harden doesn't have it tonight. Maxey ain't getting the ball enough. Harris isn't hot enough. Danny Green can't throw the ball in the damn ocean. Thibault, what are you even doing here? The bench doesn't put the ball through the hoop themselves till the fourth quarter. That's got to be pretty disconcerting. Finally, this is where we get a little bit of, I don't want to say trouble, but a little controversy. Let me give you the numbers on James Harden before I hit this. James Harden last night, 4 for 11, 2 of 6 from beyond the arc, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, 7 assists, 5 turnovers. Again, he's got as many turnovers as he does made shots over the last 2 games, 9, and he had 15 points last night on 11 shots. 11 shots. Harden usually is the type of guy that I don't mind what do you call it? The doesn't have a conscious when he's trying to shoot the basketball, like, the next one's always going in, that type of thing. I don't mind that with Harden because he's capable of all of a sudden rattling you off like 2, 3 threes in a couple of consecutive possessions. So I don't mind it as much. Last night I minded it, but Joel Embiid said that James Harden still got to keep on shooting. Listen to this.
I've been saying all season since he got here, he just needs to be aggressive and he needs to be himself. That's not really my job. That's probably on coach to, talk to him and tell him to, take more shots, especially if they're gonna guard me the way they've been guarding. But that's really not my job.
That's not my job. That's not my job. And here's the thing. I agree with him. I don't know. It's a matter of Tyrese Maxey running the point and James Harden's your shooting guard. And you just try to get him those corner looks. You try to get him those foul line extended looks at threes. Maybe that's what you have to do for the remainder of this series. Maybe that's the big adjustment that needs to happen because Maxey, like I said, is the only guy playing with a sparklet under his ass. And James Harden certainly isn't doing that. And here's the other thing. I'm not so sure I want a more aggressive James Harden because I'm not just talking about threes with James Harden when I talk about aggression. I talk about the James Harden that's putting the ball on the floor and then trying to beat the defender in front of him to the basket. James Harden does not have that ability anymore. Maybe in the off chance he gets a mismatch at the top of the key, he can do it. But this James Harden ain't doing that. That's where his turnovers are coming from, trying to beat guys off the dribble to get to the hoop. And guess what's happening? He's either missing the shot or he's not getting the foul call or he's turning the basketball over. You know why? Because he's still trying to be aggressive, but it ain't there anymore. It feels like right now, if you're more in the camp like I am, that this is just James Harden now, it's not a hamstring, it's not terminology like Allah was talking to us about yesterday. It still could be those things, but that's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this is James Harden now. And next year, the 33-year-old James Harden isn't going to be a lot better than the 32-year-old James Harden that we got right now. So if that's the case, and he can't beat guys off the dribble, and he can't do all that, then I feel like James Harden right now is maybe, even in the most optimistic sense, is in that transition period of his career where it's like, I'm not going to be the guy scoring 20 to 30 points a game. I'm not going to be that guy. I haven't been that guy for like 3 years. Maybe now I got to be that guy that's your 15 points per game on 8 shots. Most of my points are coming from beyond the arc, but I'll get you 12 to 15 assists per game. Maybe that's the guy James Harden is trying to figure out, maybe that's who he really is right now, and he's just in that transition phase of his career where he needs to figure that out. That seems to be more likely than, James Harden's going to come back next year. Man, he's going to beat guys off the dribble again. He's going to be knocking down that three with great consistency. He's going to be getting those foul calls. Don't see it. Don't see it. I want to see it. I want to be there with the people that are eternally optimistic, but I just can't be. So I hear what Joel Embiid's saying there in terms of James Harden being more aggressive, but I'm not so sure that's the best idea for James Harden right now. Because when I have seen him be aggressive and get the ball at the top of the key, and he does that little step back, clank, or he gets the ball at the top of the key, dribbles between his legs a couple times, and then tries to get the penetration, turnover. That's a guy who's forcing it. And the Sixers don't need a guy who's forcing it right now. You need to play safe because the Raptors, as we saw last night, are going to take advantage of every mistake that you make. And that is a awful, awful thing to think about when you go into Game 6. So that's Joel Embiid talking about Harden. It was a short clip, so I'm not even going to play it for you. Harden thinks he's fine. As the counter to that, James Harden was asked about being more aggressive last night. And he was just like, I took 11 shots. And I was like, is he saying that because he thinks that's a lot? I think it's a lot, especially when you only make 4 of them. For a third time, as many turnovers as made field goals in the last 2 games. Not a highlight, not a brag. But James Harden thinks he's okay. Took 11 shots. Okay. So that's what he said last night. Here is James Harden, though, so you can hear right from the man himself about the offense clicking. This comes down to one of the things that a lot of people talk about with James Harden and just making shots. Because James Harden, over the last 2 games, it's not about the fact that they've been getting outplayed. It's not chemistry. It's just about making shots. Here's Harden on that.
You guys were really clicking the first couple of games in the series. Obviously, that's not been the case in the last couple. What has changed?
You said we weren't clicking?
The last couple games. First couple games of the series, you guys were playing great.
We were making shots.
Yeah. Is it just as simple as just not making shots, or is anything else changed?
No, I think we were making a lot of shots. We're getting a lot of open looks, that we're not making. With that being said, it's a make or miss league, but we still have to do the small things, the detailed things defensively to help us to get in transition and get offensively better looks.
The Raptors shot 51% from the floor last night. Sixers shot 38% from the floor last night. So, yeah, they weren't making shots. But I think what the reporter was getting at in the question was continuity, was chemistry. Last night looked like the first game they had ever played together. Last night looked like if James Harden's first game with the Sixers aged him 10 years. That's what last night looked like. There wasn't continuity. There wasn't chemistry. Nobody was on the same page. This team looked like they were playing catch-up from jump. And that's not how they were supposed to play at home in a Game 5, where they could have just finished this team off and started thinking about the next round of the playoffs. But instead, they're going into Toronto on the Thursday night, and I don't have a lot of confidence the Sixers are going to win that game. Doc Rivers talked about after the game how it was like that might be the right atmosphere. We let you hear from him earlier. Oh, they might need that atmosphere in Toronto. No, they don't. They don't. I don't think they need any of that atmosphere. I mean, let's not forget for a second here that James Harden, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris were an overtime period, and Joel Embiid having a monster game in that Game 3. If Joel Embiid doesn't have that monster game, if Toronto hits like one more shot, you're tied in this series at this point. You're not in a situation. Actually, no, you're down in this series at this point. What am I saying? Joel Embiid playing most of the game with a fresh hand, with 2 good hands, rather. That's how close you are from being down 3-2 in this series and being eliminated in this Game 6. That's bad. That ain't good. Sixers need something lit under them, and I don't think it's James Harden to light it. I hope it's Joel Embiid, but I don't know what he has left in his offhand. And I don't know if Tyrese Maxey is good enough to carry the team. I want to say he is. I want to root for the fact that he could be, but it's scary going into Toronto for this Game 6. I think the series is coming back to Philadelphia, and then it's no holds barred. Because if it really is Joel Embiid playing at 75%, oh yeah, I don't see anybody else stepping up to the magnitude they're going to need him to step up to make up for what you're going to lose in Joel Embiid. Let me tell you, that was our Rothman Orthopedics locker room report. Let me tell you right now about the amazing people at Rothman Orthopedics. You need a physician who eats, sleeps, and breathes orthopedics. You need a Rothman Orthopedics physician because they not only specialize in the whole body, they specialize in one area of the body. That's what each doctor does. So you know you're getting the best treatment with a real specific specialist from Rothman Orthopedics. You can have the confidence to get past the pain with Rothman Orthopedics. Visit them in one of their 30-plus locations in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, including 4 orthopedic-only urgent cares. Learn more at rothmanortho.com. That's rothmanortho.com. How about the great people of Winview, the only game where fans can take on other fans and end the debate once and for all? Who's the bigger sports fan? If you have those friends or family members who think they know everything about sports, challenge them to Winview contest. See if they can walk the walk as well as they talk the talk. Breaking the monotony of family dinners and get-togethers with a little WinView contest. It's not a sports book. It's not daily fantasy. It's a social gaming app where fans can take on other fans and win real money prizes on making predictions on the games that they love so much. So make sure you download the WinView app right now. How about the great people at the PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. It's phlsportstation.com. Let's jump into our chat check, ladies and gentlemen, see what all the great people have to say. Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, Sean. It's not a good morning. 3 poop emojis. Sean, I believe that's very descriptive and accurate of what we've been watching from the 76ers. One Guapo. Good morning, Dan Schwartz. Good morning, everyone. Yeah. All right, what did I miss here, Dan? I don't know. Clay, what's going on, Clay? Good morning, people. If Doc gags this series away, he should be fired, as Paulie said instamatically. Paulie Ovi? I don't know. What did I miss? I missed something here. But yes, I agree. I agree. Clay, the Raptors own the Sixers. This is the reason why the Sixers are 10-30 in their last 40 games against the Raptors. Gross! Jim Grassmeter, what's going on? Who the hell is Doc Rivers? You mean Duck? Yes, Dan, I'm sorry. Jim Grassmeter, I think the Sixers just gave up another wide open 3. Jim Grassmeter, Harden is toast. I mean, in all seriousness, folks, how do you look at what you're seeing from James Harden right now and go, no, next year? Let alone how do you look at James Harden and go, $200+ million, give it to him. Don't think that's allowed. Jim Grassmeter, it must be nice to have a coach like Toronto to have their team prepared to play. Certainly seems like it. Mike Fuji, a somewhat happy Tuesday, Mark, and beautiful people. Let's keep the faith. Go Sixers. Fuji, thank you. Yeah. Keep it a faith. Keep it a faith. I still have some faith that the Sixers will win the series. I just don't think they do it in Toronto. Let's put it that way. And it's weird that I'm drawing optimism from my pessimism. Like, I was really hyped that they win game 2 or win game 4, and then hyped they win game 5, and they didn't. So if I hate them in game 6, that means they win, right? Like, that's like, somebody told me last night when I was ripping Ben Simmons, hey, maybe you should worry about the Sixers. And I'm like, dude, I'm a Philadelphia sports fan. I can worry about multiple things at one time. Like, it's a gift. It's not even a gift. It's something that we've, like, developed over time. Please. 4 for 4 City. Yeah, you can worry about multiple things at once. Like, for instance, Thursday night's a perfect example. Well, how are we going to screw up the draft? And how are the Sixers going to lose game 6? Multiple things I can worry about. Perfect example. Somewhat happy Tuesday, Mark. Yeah, it's okay. April, good morning, fam. What a dumpster fire. April, couldn't agree more. Actual score last night was 103-86, not 103-88. Achua decided he gave us a literal free basket. That was pretty adorable. You're right. Excuse me. Jim Grassmeter, how many possessions were there that nobody was in the paint? More often than not, they were always running around the 3-point line. Breaking news, Ben Simmons is available for game 5. Daniel, hilarious. By the way, I was going to save this for the morning rush, but the hell with it. Did you see Woj yesterday on NBA Today? Did you see him? He was with the angel sent from heaven to talk to us about basketball, Malik Andrews. And Woj said that Ben Simmons, his camp, Clutch Sports, and the Nets, upper management, had a meeting. And the takeaway from that meeting was that Ben Simmons needs more help. The takeaway from the meeting was that Ben Simmons needs more help. The context of saying that was that he needs more help in the physical rehab from his back and the mental rehab from whatever his mental issues are. Okay. Ben Simmons needs more help. It wasn't enough that the Sixers took him number 1 overall despite him not giving a damn at LSU. It wasn't the fact that the Sixers gave him a $170 million contract despite not learning to shoot. It wasn't that the Sixers kissed his ass with Doc Rivers for an entire year up until the playoffs, where there was no denying Ben Simmons was choking the playoffs away. And then he was finally benched in the final couple minutes of a game because of Hack-a-Ben. It wasn't enough for Doc Rivers to be out in L.A. and reach out to Ben Simmons to try to help, and Ben Simmons ignored the text message. It wasn't enough that Matisse Thybulle, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, and Tyrese Maxey wanted to go out and visit Ben Simmons in California, and Ben Simmons says, let me save you a trip, don't you come out here. It wasn't enough for Ben Simmons to then finally show up and get help from Sixers team doctors, and just Sixers try to be informed. Then he says, thanks, but no thanks. And then he gets traded to the team he wanted to go to in the Brooklyn Nets, and he doesn't play for them. But right now, Ben Simmons needs more help. Oh, and I left out Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, like encouraging him in practice and all that stuff. Ben Simmons needs more help. That was the takeaway from the meeting between Clutch Sports and the Nets upper brass. Ben Simmons needs more help. Maybe it's time to step away from basketball for a minute, Ben. Seems like physically, it's not for you right now. Seems like mentally, it's not something you're prepared to do. Maybe just step away for a minute. Maybe like away, not on a bench near you. No, maybe just chill in your mansion, enjoy your time, free your mind, man. And then maybe in a year, not next year, but in a year, give it a whirl again. Doesn't seem like basketball's for you right now. Doesn't seem like public life is for you right now. He needs more help. More. After all that stuff, on the laundry list of stuff, more help. Good luck, Brooklyn. Good luck to you. Won't just worry about the Sixers. I can worry about everything at once. It's a developed skill all of us Philadelphia sports fans have. Right, Hank? Keep on writing that stuff down, buddy. All right. So anyway, thank you, Dan, for making me go off on that tangent. Jim Grassmeter slapped in the face, and they took it. Oh, Jim Grassmeter wasn't slapped in the face, but the Sixers were slapped in the face, and they took it. It was all iso ball, Jim. Nothing in the paint. Yep, you're absolutely right. They will be back for Game 7 at home. Dr. J is going to ring the bell before the game. I like how you already have the bell ringer down for Game 7. The Nets losing was a high point last night for sure. Where is the Nets fan who swore in the chat that Ben Simmons would be such a great asset? Did you guys see the tweet that was making its rounds again yesterday? Somebody retweeted it from Ben Simmons after the Sixers. I think after they got swept in the bubble in Orlando. Ben Simmons said, man, it hurt like hell to watch my team get swept. It'll never happen again, whatever. And then the first comment, like, that was funny. And then the first comment is, come to the Nets. It'll never happen. That was even funnier. Taking joy in other people's misery, yes. But April, you're exactly right. I don't know. I haven't seen that dude. Alyssa, what's going on? Good morning. Good morning to everyone except the entire Sixers roster. Alyssa, here. No confidence in the Sixers, says Sean Gillespie. Losing is in their attitude, lackadaisical effort, and once again, Duck Rivers history. Ooh, Alyssa, I was at the game last night just yelling, I hate it here. Well played. Dan, I hope at least they compete in Game 6. They couldn't get any closer than 9 points last night. Crowd was trying to push them. I wish some of the fans could have played on the bench. Would have had better luck. My man Karate Marc made that half-court shot, maybe put him in the game, see what happens. Bench contributed as much as Simmons did in the Nets. They clapped their best. Flyers can't even tank properly. The Flyers tank has just not been a thing, unfortunately. As much as I hate to say that. It's like, as bad as they've been, there's been 5 teams worse than them. I'm surprised Marc didn't break out the black shirt today. In quotations, the black shirt. Yes. It's red. Thank you. Dark red, but red. April. Thank you. April says, this is why Duck Rivers has 1 ring. He lucked into that ring and definitely won't win. When it wasn't one from his coaching. Yeah, it was 3 Hall of Famers. By the way, I was thinking about this last night because, again, the Sixers aren't going to win a second-round series. The Sixers are not going to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They made it to the Eastern Conference semifinals, Game 7 against the Boston Celtics, a year before the process started. That was the Andre Iguodala year, or Andre Iguodala, Drew Holiday, I believe it was, led Sixers team, where they beat the Bulls because Joakim Noah and Derrick Rose, most notably, got hurt. And then they went on to face the Celtics. That Celtics team was coached by Doc Rivers. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was still the coach in Boston. But more importantly, that was the big 3, the Boston 3 party. That was Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett in that series. That seems like a million years ago, and it was 10 years ago. If that's not bonkers, I don't know what is, man. I don't know what is. Sean Gillespie, I'm convinced when you think the Sixers win, they lose, and vice versa. Let's just hope that that's the impact that we have. Dan Schwartz, the bad, mean Philly fans booing. Why can't we have class like those New York fans who now throw trash at players on the field? That's gotten a lot of media coverage, and rightfully so. And there's the thing. I think I know I always try to apply the what if it happened here to anything that happens nationally, but I think I'm done with the, and I've seen some people do this. Oh, those Philly fans snuck into New York and they did this. Haha. And I'm like, I will not allow the national media to live that rent-free in my head no mo. Not going to let it happen. Let's see here. Ooh, Sean. Just now you're gonna make me do a stupid impression. Here we go. This is what Sean Gillespie's saying, and he's crediting Michael Corleone, Godfather 3. There's 2 lines that my family says repeatedly, especially my cousin Greg Oates. He says this. There's just when I was out. Damn it, messed it up. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Right? And then the other one is Joey Zaza's a pimp. Those are the 2 lines that get repeated from Godfather 3 in my family. Those are Joey Zaza's a pimp. Just when I was out, they pulled me back in. Joey Zaza's a pimp. Anyway, those are family conversations. Let's see here. Alyssa, good morning, Jim. I will be watching Thursday's game at home with booze within reach. Let's see here. What else do we have? Julian. Farzy history will be made Saturday. I hope, Julian, in a good way. Absolutely disgusting. Doc is an issue. Bottom line, it's okay. I see what you're saying here. Absolutely disgusting, though. And Doc is an issue. Bottom line, damn players. Harden is so bad. Joel again hurt when they need him most. I think they should blow it all up when they. Oh God, another process. April, poor Joel. He just seems so worn out. It must be exhausting to have to carry the team every year. Certainly. Jimmy J, welcome to the chat, Jimmy J. Sixers in trouble. Finish it in 6, or it's history. Literally. I agree. Oh yeah, I saw Charles Barkley talk about the Sixers sphincters. And I was like, now that's analysis. Or may I say, analysis? What? All right. It's a family show. Sorry, Hank. Sorry, buddy. Maury, should you just wait into the summer? Yeah, probably. Marquise Graham, what's up? I'm not paying Harden no $50 million a year. Harden better realize, I think is what you're trying to say. Better realize he's playing like he's worth $2 to $9 million a year. Harden better know what he wants in his performance, but it doesn't match. I agree. I hope so. It took 17 shots last night, Mark. 11 in Game 6 at Delilah's. Hey-o! Process is dead, dude. It will end Saturday night. Oh, good. I'm watching the NFL draft. Wow. Okay. I don't blame you. Ben Simmons, the socialite. Okay, Momo, what's going on? Ben Simmons is proving he wants to be a fashion model more anyway. Marquise Graham says that. Yeah, basketball ain't for him, bro. Basketball ain't for him. Doc Rivers basically needed three plus Hall of Famers on a team to win a title. What a joke. Marquise, you're not wrong. Mac, what's going on? Marcus, yeah, it is. It's a party in here now. Oh, Julian, what's going on? How are you, Julian? Let's see. Marquise, Mike Fuji, Paulie from Rocky? Why are we talking about Paulie from Rocky? What'd I miss? Love Paulie. Paulie's one of my favorite, like, all-time, like, side characters. Did I get everybody? I think I got everybody, especially some of the new people here. Julian, yep, gotcha. Jimmy J, hello again. Yeah, I think I got everybody. You guys are awesome, as per usual. Thanks very much to everybody in the chat. You guys are great. Bringing it each and every day. That's for damn sure. There you go. Let's get into our morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. I said today I was going to give you guys my big plan for the draft, and that's going to have to wait till tomorrow. But here, listen to this. CJ Perez, Temple Owl, supposed to be a late round pick in this upcoming draft, will join the show tomorrow. We're taping an interview today, so we'll get his perspective on the draft. We'll try to get you guys another draft conversation going for tomorrow. But right now, this is what I'm leaning towards in my final decision up until draft day. Jordan Davis, defensive lineman out of Georgia, make it happen. Devin Lloyd, linebacker out of Utah, make it happen. The Kobe Dean, maybe? And how about this? I really thought David Ojabo was going to go in the second round because of the injury. It's not happening. He's going in the first. And he could be there when the Eagles, he most likely would be there when the Eagles pick. Like, he'll probably be in the 20s. But do you roll the dice? There? Eagles haven't had a lot of success in that regard. I mean, they had Sidney Jones, but then they had Landon Dickerson. I think Dean's better than both those guys substantially, and in a position where he could be a lot more effective. I just don't think they go edge rusher in this draft after they got Hassan Reddick, who's obviously still young. But I think they've addressed that need in free agency. I don't think they addressed that need in the draft. I think they could go interior defensive lineman, and I think they could go linebacker. But I think they break the streak, and they go linebacker in the first round. Some other names that I really liked around 15 and 18 where the Eagles are supposed to be selecting. Look like the guy that I really liked was Stingley. He's the one guy I've been consistent on. The cornerback out of LSU, I think he's going to end up going before the Sixers, before the Eagles selected 15. Some second round guys we'll talk about on Friday, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there. But Jordan Davis, Devin Lloyd are two guys that I'm looking at right now that I hope are in the Eagles crosshair. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is the Farzy Show presented by Destination Retirement, destinationretirement.com. Oh, the Phillies won yesterday. That's what else I wanted to get you there. Bats came alive, baby. Nice win over the Brewers. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow. CJ Perez of Temple football fame will be on the show to talk about the draft process that he's going through. And we'll also talk a little bit more NFL draft with you guys tomorrow with an NFL draft preview. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to the Farzy Show presented by destinationretirement.com. Coming to you live from the Steven Singer Studios. My man, Jim Hyde, produced the program, did a phenomenal job as per usual. This is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take it easy.